Hey guys, coming at you with another YJ Wrangler update. This time I have a little script to go off of, so it'll be a lot less of So, first up on the bat rather, is I got my tie rod end boots on, and I got the grease zerks replaced. I flushed out all the old water infused grease out of them. Um, got a track bar installed, a new steering damper installed, and this is my section to connect from the steering box to the to the tie rods rather. I had to take this off because that tie rod was seized, so I had to free that up. I got that freed up. I replaced the grease zerks, filled them back up with grease. I did not take that boot off because it didn't want to come off very easy, and it's already pretty torn. So I just figured I'll leave it like that for now. And I'm doing all this because I have a manual steering gearbox coming in for this thing, which was a whole process of trying to figure out what'll work, because the manual steering gearbox is 3/4 of an inch in diameter for the input shaft, whereas the power steering box is 0.93 inches. So the power steering box is a little bit bigger for the input shaft diameter, which also means that the steering shaft wouldn't work for a manual steering box if I had gotten a power steering shaft. And the problem with that, they don't reproduce steering shafts for manual steering Jeeps. I can't find any online on eBay or anything. And the chances of me coming across one are very slim. So I found on Scamazon these couplers to go from various different sizes. This one is a 3/4 inch double D steering shaft on this side, and then a 1-inch double D steering shaft on the other to go to the steering column, which I had to grind down the steering column a little bit to get this to slip on. And the same thing for this end. So I think it's just these couplings I got are cheapo Chinesium garbage, and they're not measured right or whatever, because I know for a fact this is 1 inch, and I know for a fact this is 7.75 inches. And then for the steering box end, I got 3/4 of an inch double D on this side, and then GM 30 spline 3/4 inch on this side, which this is kind of weird because it has a set screw rather than a bolt going through it like you would normally have, but as long as it works. Not too concerned with that. Like I said, I have a manual steering gearbox coming. I'm waiting on that to arrive. Then when that comes, I can cut this steering shaft to the proper length, hook that up, and then hook everything else up, and then this thing will be able to steer on its own, finally. Which will make it a lot easier getting it in and out of the garage whenever we want to get these Jeeps out. But that's it for the steering linkage. In the last video, I had mentioned that I wanted to get new wheels for this thing. I've decided against that because the rears are 15x7s, and that's how much they stick out. Basically 3/4 of the tire is sticking out past the fender, and that's just because that axle is a truck axle and it's substantially wider than the factory rear end from this thing, and that makes it really hard to try and find rims with back spacing inwards. Pretty much all the rims that I could find are back spaced outwards or halfway between the wheel and the tire, which would essentially mean that I'm going to be, no matter what, I would just end up having even more tires sticking out, and that is not what I want. So I'm going to stick with these. I think they're Outlaw American Racing wheels. I'm going to stick with these and just slap new tires on them because it's really not worth it to try and get custom wheels made or anything else like that. I got my wiper arms and wiper blades on. I know, huge progress being made. And one thing I can't show you guys yet, because it's not here yet and it won't be here for another 2 months, is the drive shaft. I got that ordered. I got a custom drive shaft made from Denny's Drive Shafts up in New York. We've had a drive shaft made by them before, and it's really good. Their stuff is really good quality. It cost me about $415 to get a 2-inch drive shaft made with the yoke and everything. So pretty excited about that. I got all my rubber hood bumpers in. So one on both sides. So now the hood doesn't sit directly on the grill like it did before. And on the inside, take a seat. You can see I got my speaker pod installed with my Kicker 6.5-inch speakers, and I've tested it out. It works, but unfortunately the driver's side speaker is blown out. Too much Freebird, I guess. I'll have to get new speakers at some point. It's not a huge deal. You don't really notice it unless there's a ton of bass, but yeah, that's pretty much the latest thing on the inside of this car. Not a whole lot else happening. So we'll take a leap out of here. I forget if I mentioned in the last video, I got new door pull handles and straps installed. Got an aftermarket horn installed to replace the factory one. This one's another low tone horn. It sounds alright. That's a horn. It's not super deep like I would have wanted, but it's whatever. So as far as my future plans for this car go, in terms of what else needs to get ordered, what else needs to get put on, I think first and foremost, I want to get brakes put on this car after I get my drive shaft in. Well, the next thing I want to order is the brakes. After I've got it steering, I want to get it braking. So I have to get everything from the brake system. I got to get lines, hoses, calipers, rotors, pads, drums, drum hardware, wheel cylinders, shoes, and proportioning valve, master cylinder, potentially a brake booster. So as you can see, I got my my OG brake booster off. Still debating if I want to buy a new one or not. It's not really in terrible shape, but and then that's pretty much everything from the brakes. And then for the fuel system, I got to get a 15-gallon gas tank installed. I've gone over that spiel in one of my previous videos, so go take a look at that if you want to know why I'm swapping from a 20-gallon to a 15-gallon tank. Get a 15-gallon tank installed, get the proper skid plate for that, get the sending unit and fuel pump for that, and the filler neck and vent neck, and filler tube and vent tube for that. So that's not a huge list of parts either. For the transmission, I have the drive shaft coming. I need to get a transmission cooler because I'm not going to run the lines to the radiator. I'm going to run an auxiliary trans cooler and probably have it sitting underneath the passenger side floor pan. with a fan on it. I have to get a kickdown switch. Potentially, I don't necessarily have to. I have to get the vacuum line for the modulator and an inspection cover. And then I have to get a trans tunnel cover plate as well as a shifter. For the shifter, I think I'm going to get a B&M Pro ratchet shifter. I had a B&M ratchet shifter in my Nova. I really like that. The Pro ratchet shifter is basically the same, but it has a separate it has a lever to go from park through first, and then it has a separate lever for actually ratcheting it, which I think that is a lot better than having to go like up and back and then down and then down and back and then up and back and then down and back and then it would be a lot better. And then for the interior, not a whole lot is going to change. Obviously, I need to get new speakers, trans tunnel cover. I'm going to get more speakers, like 2 more speaker pods I could put back here. And then I want to get a different rear bench. I still have my factory one, but I want to get a different one. Something that would match these seats better, like a Corbeau Baja bucket bench seat. I think those are really cool. They're just like $400. And then pretty much the last couple things I would be buying for this thing would be like the fender flares and soft top and half door uppers and mirrors, because I'm not going to be buying the fender flares until I'm done with everything in here, because obviously when you're leaning over the fender, you're going to be waffling those fender flares a lot. And the mirrors would just get in the way. So I'm leaving those for last too. And the soft top, I'm leaving last just because those are incredibly ridiculously expensive. So I also have to get seatbelts. That's, kind of a crucial thing, but yeah, it's not a big deal. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'll keep you guys updated. I'll probably make another video the next time I get a decent amount of work done on this car. Pretty much lately I've just been doing little stuff like the hood bumpers and the wipers and tie rod on boots so I could get this thing steering again. But I plan on, my drive shaft is supposed to ship out by mid-June, or around mid-June. They said it's a 8-week turnaround time. So it's mid-June to late June is when I would be getting my drive shaft, or at least when it would be shipping out. So I'm really, really pushing to try and get this thing mostly ready apart from the drive shaft. So I really want to have the brakes done by then, and I really want to have the transmission done by then, and the fuel system done by then. If anything, I just want to have as much of it done by the time I get my drive shaft in, so that way I can finish up the car really fast and then be able to drive it in July or August at the latest. Because, I haven't driven this car in a year and a half, coming on 2 years if it waits till August. So it would be really nice to drive this car again. But I'll see you guys in the next one.